Hello everyone, so very quickly, who am I and why have I been asked to stand at the front of the page, front of the stage, picture of me there on the Comms Directors Cruise. If you ever hear about it, go, it's free, it's not on a cruise ship anymore, but lots of great events. That's me taking my selfie out the window. I am a comms manager at Bromford, so go back a couple of years ago I was responsible solely for digital. I then took on internal comms. I was then seconded over into our change programme, because if you're from the housing world, you know right now we love a good change programme. So I was doing change comms there for a while, and now I'm in transformation itself. So my job is to look at how we can transform our communications and marketing service for the future, as well as how we can improve our customer experience. So that's through things like self-service, automation of customer service, from a comms perspective, and supporting our customer service team on their journey. So who are Bromford? Some of you may have heard of us. Some of you may have seen our tweets. I'm just going to run round, grab my iPad with my notes on. I was hoping the presenter display was going to be up with my notes on it, but it's a slide, so 2 seconds. That's okay. So we are a social housing provider. So we are a social business and we have a social purpose. So for us, social media is incredibly important. But we're all about believing in people and what they can achieve. So all we see the home as is a platform. We think our duty as an organisation in our industry is to do far more than just provide a home. So give you some numbers. We have approximately 43,000 homes currently. Which means we have relationships, individual relationships with around 100,000 customers. And at the moment we have plans to build around 14,000 homes over the next few years. And to make all that work, we've got 1,800 colleagues working for us. And that's our purpose. I thought I'd show you who we are. That's what we kind of put on our strategy document. That's what we issue out to kind of you guys, local authorities, public sector, when you work with us. That's who we are and what we're about. So we believe in people. We have a DNA internally. So our DNA currently has changed recently, is be honest, be brilliant, be you, and be bold. And that's important throughout what I talk about, because being honest, be you, be brilliant, be bold is something we want our customer service team, our comms team, everyone involved in interacting with customers to really embody. And like I said, for us, the home is just a platform. It might sound aspirational. It might sound to some a bit fluffy, maybe a bit too PR-y, but we believe that through the work that we do, we can make a difference to people's lives if we just look behind that kind of front door and look beyond the fact that we give them a bricks and mortar home that works and functions for them, but we've got so more that we can offer. So, realising the importance of social media. So for this, we're going to go back in time. We're going to go back to roughly 2010, 2011. And we had profiles on, at the time, all of the major social networks. So Twitter and Facebook. The egg, for any of you know the egg was rife. For those who don't know the egg, your default picture when you first joined Twitter is an egg. You can now choose many colours of background for the egg. Originally it was just this blue. But the egg was rife because all we were doing was squatting. We were going on to Twitter and Facebook, and we were claiming multiple different kind of brand names. We used to be called Bromford Group, with Bromford Living, Bromford Support, Bromford Homes, all these different kind of sub-brands. So we were just claiming all these different accounts. We didn't have any direction. We didn't have any intent. We didn't have a purpose. We just saw these things that we probably should go and capture, like you do with URLs and websites sometimes. We just went and grabbed them. And then in 2011, disorder broke out in the UK, and we had the riots. And during that time, we began to see the value that social media could have, because we became, in our communities, a trusted source of information. Now, we worked with local authority partners and local organisations, emergency services. They were putting out information, and we worked with them to clarify some of that fact check and make sure that our communities were safe. We were getting customers phoning up our contact centre saying, I've seen around the corner, riots occurring right now. We no, you live in Dudley. The riots are in Birmingham, Wolverhampton, maybe. Nothing's going on in Dudley. So we have to fact check and help our customers, and social really helped us with that. When it all finished, we had the time to kind of evaluate what had gone on. It really gave us the evidence to go to directors and show the social benefit that social media could bring to our organisation. So I joined the business January 2012. So I'm not going to claim fame for kind of all the work the comms team did before me with the riots, but I was brought in very quickly to try and help take control of some of that social media, start producing content, update the profiles, and start getting our brand a bit more owned on social. But of course, social media, that's obviously a comms team. Just for my own benefit, quick show of hands, who's from comms or related in this room? Okay, so who's not from comms? Ah, there we go. Where are you?
More sort of just the general marketing side.
Okay. So is no one here from customer service? Okay, so we can talk about them. So obviously we would often say, social media, that's a comms thing. We own social media now. We want to take ownership of it because we know best. Well, I've said this phrase quite a lot recently, but if all our executive directors, our chief exec, left the organisation one day altogether, comms could probably still run the organisation. We know what's going on generally. We know how the business works. We've had to learn everything they do in their jobs to make sure we can communicate it so we can kind of do it. But what we realise is that's not completely true. And obviously we all know that's not completely true. We're not the experts. So comms doing customer service, that's not always great. Some of the more traditional marketing and sales, or sometimes comms don't have that expertise. Recruitment, again, we can help out with some of the comms of recruitment, but are we the best place to manage all of our recruitment on social? So we decided at Bromford, to some extent, we wanted rid. The comms team didn't want to solely own social media. We wanted it to be shared for the right reasons. I've made sure I've included some GIFs or GIFs, depending if you want to say the proper word, at various points. So the process that we went on to start inducting our customer service teams, essentially, was over a long period of time. This isn't going to be a story of we went over to customer service, said you want Twitter passwords, and they went, yeah, give it us, and we're done. That's not what happened. It was a long journey, and that started off initially. Obviously, as a customer service, we were doing it all, we were responding. But what happened first is we would say, customer service, can you send us your reply or we'll send you the message via email. How kind of innovative of us. Send them the message, they would send us back the kind of notes from the CRM system. We would turn that into a statement and eventually move to the point where we said to them, you know what we're going to do? Crazy thought, we'll give you access, but we want to approve everything you ever say. And so we did time with them to start showing them the platform that was available, how they could use these things, but always did it in a point of view where we kind of then approved and show them where they could improve and took them on that journey. And eventually we got to the point where we kind of gave them their own accounts and we kind of said, we're going to turn off approval, go crazy, within limits. Now that was a challenge, and I'm probably going to steal my point from later on, but I'll say it now. One of the bigger challenges there was actually their leaders in customer service. Customer service team generally were quite happy to take ownership of social media, but the leaders were the ones that were unsure, and that comes again, this will be a key point throughout, but the culture that we have as an organisation is key. Our leaders wouldn't quite live that culture. They were too afraid of this unknown. I always find it quite funny that we're quite happy for them to sit on a phone and talk to a customer, but if it's typing it onto something, even an email is okay, but typing it onto Facebook or Twitter, suddenly it becomes a problem. So we had to do a lot of work with leaders as well, and I'll talk about how we do that in a short while. Now, I get this question every so often. How our team works, we don't have a dedicated social media team. Our customer service on social media is done by the same people who answer the phones, the same people who reply to emails, live chat, etc. We do it in a way in which when messages comes in, they have a priority and they will go to the person that's relevant. Some people have higher priority for social than others, but they still take the calls when we need to. Because I'll be honest, we're not inundated on social media. It's not like someone has to spend hours and hours and hours constantly trying to churn out messages, because we still get predominantly calls. But we wanted to make sure that for that consistent experience, the same team did everything. And so later on as I talk, we have the technology to make that happen. But did it all work? Did that journey? So we're going to go back to 2012, and we're going to go and tune into BBC Midlands Today to find out what happened.
Hi, this is David calling from Bromford Housing. I'm just calling you regarding some feedback we've had on our Facebook page. Have you got a few minutes to discuss at all?
And here's another organisation embracing social media. The Bromford Group handles inquiries via Facebook and Twitter in all of its call centres.
Shock horror.
They also use Facebook to advertise properties.
What we're bringing in is a whole raft of different ways for customers to communicate with us, and we want to embrace that and bring that on board rather than push people down traditional channels. We want customers to use the contact channels they're keen to use.
So clearly market-driven, and experts in social media say it's fast becoming an essential tool for any growing company.
Any large organisation will end up being talked about on Twitter or Facebook. So if you want to do something about that, you have to join Twitter and Facebook. It's the only place where you can take part in that conversation. And then as a business or as a large organisation, housing association, whatever, you've got a choice. Do you either get defensive or do you get useful and helpful?
And it appears that most companies are opting for the latter choice, hence the growth in social media, which to many now seems unstoppable.
So what do we take from that? So first of all, what I got from that is you all need to consider setting up a Twitter account. Social media, that's an up-and-coming thing. So make sure you engage with it. Or probably the point that Helena made. So Helena at the time was our director of comms. She's now director of people services and colleague experience because we had a bit of a shift around. But her point there, go where your customers are. Going to the platforms that they want to engage with you. Social is where you go to communicate with your friends, you go to have a laugh, you go to find out news, etc. Because it's quick, it's easy, and it doesn't have many boundaries. And so that should be the same for us as ultimately as brands. We should be there. And I know to some extent I preach to the converted, but it's surprising how many people you talk to say they still have this worry and this fear that should they really be engaging it, but it is where your customers are. Now, some organisations don't quite agree with that, so I thought I'd pull these two out. Wetherspoons, obviously you all seen the news, they kicked off and went, we're not doing any more social. Takes up too much time, a lot of people moan at us. We've got views that you don't all agree with, and you're trolling us about. And Lush as well announced it was closing its social media accounts. Let's just take Lush as a quick example before we talk about Wetherspoons. But Lush, that's PR. That's a lie. If you actually look, Lush opened more social media accounts after this. They now encourage colleague advocates, so more and more colleagues, chief exec, directors, everyone. Their branches are encouraged to have social media accounts. They have social media accounts like Lush France, Lush US for markets, and they heavily invest in influencer marketing as well. So they haven't. That's a lie. But Wetherspoons is a good example because I tried looking and I thought some things that might have been Wetherspoons trying to hide on social, but I couldn't really find anything official. But I did a quick bit of research and Wetherspoons still have hundreds of people an hour talking about them on, I used in this example, Twitter. So hundreds of people an hour talking about them, mainly about the journey between the bar and the toilets. But hundreds of people still talking about them, and it's just that they are no longer engaging, but these conversations are still happening. And a quick stat, for those that haven't read the 2019 Edelman Trust Barometer, a lot of stuff about colleagues trusting brands now, but I picked out a couple of relevant things. 32% of people trust your message when the exposure is from social media. And just for, I've put the highest one, the only one higher was 74%, which is when the first exposure is through peers. And the second one is through a paid. But combined with that second stat, 28% more likely to engage with your communications when you have trust. If you bring those two together, it means if you get it right on social media, more people engage in your other forms of communication too. And this is where customer service getting it right as the kind of gatehouse, the gatekeepers to us as a brand, we can really benefit as comms professionals. So, comms and customer service, we should be the best of friends. But how do you speak with one voice? So I when I do come off my secondment and I come away from transformation, one of the things I'm picking back up is mainly internal comms. And that I'm one of those comms people that dives between every single area of comms because I can't make a decision. Never put me in front of a menu in a restaurant. So I'm going back into kind of a more predominantly internal comms role. But for me, a point from that culture is incredibly key. So ensuring your brand is embedded, ensuring the tone of voice and all those kind of things are embedded with customer service. Often with comms, we say these things to organisation, but truly to customer service, live the culture of, do they know the brand, do they know what we're about? Those, like I say, potentially fluffy messages you might see at the end, the aspirational stuff, do they know what that really means and can they portray that? So some of the practical things we do, because that's why we're here, we know practical stuff. We have regular content catch-ups with the key advisors who are on social media. So while all of them have access, we have some that, like I say, are prioritised for social media. Did think those gifts would stop at some point, but they're going to just keep going, obviously. So we have these regular content catch-ups with them, and what we do is we share what we are going to be putting on social, because that was one of the big pieces of feedback we often have. You put posts up with no care for the fact it's 9 o'clock on a Monday, and we are incredibly busy trying to reply to everything we might not have picked up on the weekend. We ask them as well, what are their calls? So we look at their analytics for what calls are about, not just social, so that we can start producing content that is relevant to them. I'll show you some examples of that in a bit. We talk about our analytics. We talk about best practice, and not just best practice from, so in the past we've gone, okay, well, let's look at, I know Richard as well talking, but we look at Virgin Trains, we'll look at some of the things that are being said there. Yes, it's not our industry. Yes, we can't always have that tone of voice because we are a different kind of brand, and we've decided that our brand isn't like that. But what can we learn about the kind of human engagement that's going on there? But we also look at their best practices, the what went well, even better if kind of approach. Great work from that person. Yeah, that didn't turn out great when you applied to that person. Your humour didn't land well, or you're a bit too corporate in the way you did that. And also, with Orlo, our customer service team can see everything that comms are doing. We can see everything they're doing in real time, so that's really helped as well. Another thing we've done is comms are in the induction for customer service. So every time a new set of starters come into customer service, into contact, they come in because it is a bit of a high turnover job, mainly because people go and then work elsewhere in the business. We do 10 groups of about 10, and we sit and we tell them who comms are and what we're about and where our relationship is. So we do this kind of presentation, a bit of a workshop with them, help them understand that, we don't just tell them everything about comms, but we talk about those connection points between the two of us and why that's really important. Vice versa, if a new starter starts in comms, we go and sit them in the contact centre, and they go and sit and listen to calls to understand the kind of things that we have to deal with as an organisation. But the big thing we do, and like I said, a lot of work with leaders, is we aim to give them courage and confidence. So at Bromford, social media is unlocked. That was a struggle with IT. But it is unlocked. Anyone in the organisation can use Facebook during the day, YouTube, whatever they want. And we want to put trust, and that's a big leap as well, and that's not something that maybe you do as part of the social media world. It is a bigger piece in the organisation, but that trust on social media has been great. We encourage colleagues to be on social media. We don't ask them to have all their accounts registered with us. A couple of the noted people, we kind of check in and give some guidance, but generally we trust colleagues to represent the brand well. Otherwise, why are they our colleagues if we can't trust them? And we had to just learn to let it go. So last year we had, I think it was last year, Beasts from the East. So these are just a few examples. So Beasts from the East kicked in. It was kind of the day of the most prolific snowstorm in our operating area. And at the same time, we didn't realise it at the start, but when customer service had gone home for the end of the day, 6 o'clock, welcome, we switch over to our out-of-hours call service. So we switch all the lines over. No one had double-checked, and the switch over had failed. So our contact centre was no longer online, but no one had realised. So you couldn't call us. Calls were just ringing out, and when they connected, were dropped instantly. So where did everyone go? Our Facebook page was inundated. We had hundreds, which some of you might go, well, that's not great, but for us, that was increased demand beyond what we could ever anticipate. And it was me that spotted it first, because I work in comms, I can't switch off, and our Facebook channels are on my phone. So I saw this unprecedented demand coming in, and called customer service. Nothing's happening. Our phone lines work, look, they're ringing, it's fine. I was like, no, definitely, I'd double check it. And when we realised what was going on, the fact we had the beast from the east and no phone, comms and customer service truly came together. So all working from home, we had customer service colleagues logging in onto our Facebook channel using, they haven't paid me, obviously, well, I'm here for a reason, but obviously using Orlo, as you can see. So we all logged on to Orlo. My wife also works at Bromford. I was there first. So my wife also works at Bromford. She works in our commercial property team. She had access to customer data. I work in comms, I don't. So luckily, she had sitting next to me. So as you can see, we have a mixture of me and other members of the contact. I've only got one example, actually. I've chosen two of me. Egotistical of me. But we've got members of the contact team and us online talking to people, thanking for those that are being a bit kinder to us, more kind than they normally would be. Also helping people who are struggling to get through, helping them solve this is actually the day after, in fairness, but solving people's issues. And also trying to close the loop. So a lot of people go to us for a private chat, but they'd also post publicly. So we always try and close the loop publicly as well. Go back and say, as you said to us on private, just a quick update, this is what's happening. So the rest of the world can see that we're not ignoring them. And also in case it answers their queries. So we're talking about it there, that we've already raised everything. And we went beyond that because we also did content. So this is where comms really said, well, how can we help you, customer service? So a bigger issue for us was condensate pipes. I never knew they existed until then. But these little pipes that come out of your house, apparently they can freeze, and that stops your heating. So we produced content, which was basically boil your kettle, pour it over the pipe, boiler fixed. But that was a significant number of our calls, was condensate pipes. Obviously, we don't know that till we get out there. So engineers were having to go out and go, well, can you boil the kettle for me? Done. We tried to show the human side to what we were having to deal with. So that's one of our engineers took that photo on his way to a customer. There's the wall of snow. So thank you for anyone from Leominster that was helping make those roads clear. But we managed to get to customers like that. But we said, here's one of our engineers. This is what they're dealing with to help humanise it a little bit, to show our customers what we're trying to do. We actually went from having a 24-hour emergency response time, so that's getting out to people with no heat and hot water. We had to increase that to almost 72 hours. Even our 4x4s couldn't get out to customers because we have a lot of rural places in Gloucestershire. So this really helped them understand why it was taking so long. And we did proactive stuff as well for the big thaw when the flooding started, essentially when all the customers start reporting the leaks in their house and the floods. So getting them ready. And that significantly helped reduce the contact coming in. And it also meant that when the social media team, comms or customer service were talking, they could divert people to this content rather than having to pick up a phone call. Big issue from us there as well. All the channels. There are so many channels now to mention. Back at the start we had Twitter and Facebook. Now, you've got lots of new and emergent ones. I'm on TikTok. Just to bring up the average age a little bit. But we are on lots of channels. So we took the time. So there's a few stats. So quick start. Organisations that are on as many social media platforms as they can to cover bases generally find that the cost of customer service is 4 times higher. And our contact comes from predominantly calls. So what we need to do is really focus on which channels we want to use to show our customers how they can have a better experience on that channel. Now, we can't do that if we're trying to give customer service via TikTok or Snapchat or whatever you might use, because these things aren't designed for our customer base, actually isn't really there. So we started to focus down, and I'll show you some of the channels we're on. But we did a bit of an audit. We looked at the purpose of each channel, who the audience was, what the internal partnerships needed to make it successful. And by carefully choosing channels to invest in and to make sure that we could offer a full resolution within that channel. I always hated it when we said, come to us on email from social or try filling out this form for us. We want to offer a full resolution. You can offer the best customer service experience. So where are we? Those are all our main channels, both from a kind of, I say customer service, we don't get many customers talking to us on LinkedIn. But we do use all the channels. We do actually get customers coming to us on YouTube comments. Because they come across our videos and report their repairs via a YouTube comment. So we do engage with them, we respond to them there. But the reason it's bigger is because that's where I would say 80% of our contact comes from is privately on Facebook Messenger. So sometimes our Facebook page will look like empty. We're not getting that many people out complaining or raising issues. It's actually all through Facebook Messenger. And a quick one for those who don't know Glassdoor, it's the anonymous review site. Basically, colleagues can go on and reply with put anonymous reviews of the organisation. So we don't get customer service to it, but this is where the relationship extends. We have a relationship with recruitment, and recruitment then reply to all the messages that come through on Glassdoor and kind of give the answers back to those colleagues. And I'm not going to dwell, but there's examples you can see, a mixture of content, a mixture of people replying, etc. You can see we post this our biggest video, boiler breakdown, what can you check? There's about 112,000 views on that at the moment. That's more than customers that we have, so they're not our customers, we know that, but we find this really useful, both from a brand perspective, but also we can direct customers there before we send engineers out. We use Instagram. We mainly use it for a bit about our organisation, but culture, but our customers still find it. And there's Glassdoor. If anyone's looking, best places to work 2019. Big thing for us, obviously, and kind of if culture was one key message, being human. And I know that kind of Stuart mentioned it at the start on his slide, but at the end about being human. So for us, again, culture is incredibly important, but tone of voice is key. So we do lots of work to say, customer service, look at what you say on phones. Just do that on social. Be the same human being, don't become robotic. And we do slip, and they do sometimes become, computer says no. But be human, have that great tone of voice, put more of you, less of the corporation into what you say. You're a person, and someone who's talking to a person, show that you're not a bot. And we do a lot of peer-to-peer review. So we say to a customer service team, if you want to post something, but you're a bit like, I don't know if that's going to sit well, maybe they're trying to be funny, or maybe they're being a bit more blunt than they would normally be. We just say to them, turn to the other person next to you, and with minimal context, show them how that message, show them that message, and see how they respond, and do it like that. Work together, show it comms, quickly. We use things like Microsoft Teams in-house, so quickly send a message across to comms and say what do you think of this, and we'll respond, and we'll come back and give you our opinion. And for Bromford, we're a fanboy of Simon Sinek, for those that have heard his stuff before, but starting with the why, and that people don't buy into what you do, they buy into how you make them feel. And so for that's incredibly important. It's not about what you're doing and what you're saying. It's about that tone of voice, that how you're making them feel at the very end. And it's not just about engaging with issues. It's just talking to customers about everything, saying hello. And in the age of bots, trying to speed up because I was trying to claim your time back, but I'm no good at claiming your time back. In the age of bots, are we losing our jobs? I actually, for this, went and looked. Is anyone from, I have interest, Aylesbury Council? No? I went and stole some stuff from the Financial Times, found a way in without having to pay. They've currently just rolled out, or have recently rolled out, artificial intelligence to manage customer service via social. So 40% of their inquiries, Aylesbury Council customer support officers are presented with a series of potential pre-written responses via an AI. Each is then labelled with a probability of it being the correct answer. And to use the quote, Mr. Radwell, customer service advisor, clicks on it and then chooses it and posts it to the customer. I wouldn't say it's put my job at risk. It's made my job a lot easier. And that's the same mentality we've got at Bromford. So we're exploring this route of bots and automation and AI. So we're working with Microsoft quite a lot at the moment. So we looked at AI to see whether or not AI could not remove the human, but to push the human to the right person, to try and give some of the transactional stuff that can be done online quickly. If you go back to who we're about relationships. We don't KPI our calls. We don't say, 1 minute hold time. We talk about resolution. We want our customers to have a resolution, so that doesn't matter if they're on the phone for 10 minutes or they're on the phone for 1, we want them to have the best resolution. So if we can remove some of that transactional stuff, so that when the elderly person phones and says they need some help, and while we're on the phone we realise they're maybe feeling a bit lonely, we don't have that pressure of getting the contact centre off the phone to the next person. They can spend some time, refer them to their what we call neighbourhood coach, who's on their patch, and help them that little bit more. So bots aren't going to steal the jobs yet. but they can make our lives as comms people and customer service and in marketing as well a lot easier. And that was just an example of a good customer service conversation. I'll skip along. One of the other things we do is using digital to delight. So we look beyond just the customer service issue. What more can we do? So it's not just about handling and responding to the complaint. Like I say, it's about having a holistic or relationship with the customer. So a couple of examples. A colleague, we tell colleagues to add a bit of you. Customer service, we were talking on social with someone who had a picture of, for those that know, the Fairford Air Show, had a picture of like a Eurofighter in their profile picture. It said they were from Fairford. So in the conversation, they kind of said, oh, you're going to the air show this year, and kind of started having a conversation about planes and plane spotting. I can kind of understand, because in my spare time, I volunteer with the Air Cadets. So I kind of understood what they're doing, but they were getting quite nerdy on the Eurofighter. But it made a bit of a relationship between them, and actually that customer was being quite nasty in his complaint, and it completely turned it round. And my most favourite one ever, and I think I've took out the actual pictures of all the conversation, is what we call the cake story. And very quickly, in the cake story, a customer contacted us and said, I would like to bake cakes in my house and sell them to local community members, charities, etc., and make a small profit. Customer service had one of those relapses and basically went and said, computer says no. We class that as a business. You're not running business from our property. But we took a bit of we asked a few more questions. We took a moment, to think about it, and said, so what truly are you doing? So they said, I'm a hobby baker. I bake for a local school fetes. A few of the local moms have asked if I can make birthday cakes for the children. By calling it a business, it's a big difference. I won't be making that much money. I just want to cover my expenses, really. The local authority have told me that I need to have an inspection in my kitchen, but I also need permission from you. I just want to do things the right way. If we're about doing something more for customers and not just being about the home, saying no was the wrong answer. So we empowered our customer service team to do the right thing. So they said, yes. You know what, actually, your tenancy agreement doesn't say no businesses. It says you can't be a nuisance to your neighbours, so you can't run like an eBay shop from your front room. But you can bake cakes, of course. And not only to that, then the customer service person went, you know what I'm going to do, give me some moment. Right, I've just signed you up for what we have a charity in house called the UCAN Foundation, which is small grants for people who want to start bright ideas or businesses. So I've just put you in for a £300 UCAN grant. They're going to process that for you. I've got the email. You'll hear from them soon. Can you send me some cakes, please? Of course. And what we got, obviously, eventually was the picture. This is, with permission, of course, the picture of the children of that lady. She now makes cakes for a local community. She's a bit of a kind of focal point because she makes cakes. She does them for the fate, and all because we empowered our customer service team not to just give them the default answer, to show a bit themselves and do a little bit more. Measurement for us is key. So we look at things like click-through rates, etc. What we really like within Orlo is the ability to track sentiment going from the start of the conversation to the end of a conversation, so we can see if we've changed someone's mindset. So yes, the AI does a little bit, but we also can help in and say, yeah, that's not what they meant when they were being sarcastic. So we use that. We make sure we look at who our audience is. So ours is predominantly female, predominantly kind of over the age of 30 on our Facebook page. So we try and tailor our content to that. We don't forget everyone else, but we obviously know who our audience is there. And sometimes it's just about luck. And this is a phrase I use whenever I kind of talk about social. Not everything that can be counted counts. Not everything that counts can be counted. It's a mouthful, though. But in comms, we're all about measurement now. So I was at the CIPR National Conference yesterday, and everyone talks about measurement. We've got to measure everything. But sometimes just be wary that some of the things that really matter aren't things that have data behind them and things that can't really be measured. The final big hurdle for us, getting a single view of the customer. And I'm sure that's a challenge for many of you. With 80% of our traffic still coming from calls, quite often what will happen is we have someone on the phone. We have the same person is talking to us on live chat. The same person has messaged us on Twitter. So what we have is one person, 3 forms of contact, 4 more, and multiple kind of agents engaged with that one customer. It's not efficient. So we're working to try and get a single view of the customer. Now that started with Orlo. and use their inbox tool so that customer service, comms, recruitment, sales, all these different teams in our business all log in and all see the interactions. That's just a conversation that's going on. So we can all log in and we can all see that. But that's only the first step, because you've still got people like recruitment and comms are out the loop for knowing who the customer is. It's not really a single view. It's just a single view of social to certain people. So we're currently working, and this is our big thing at the moment, something I'm working on, working with Orlo, and we are, I don't know where we can claim at the moment, but I'll use the one we were a few months ago. We are the biggest globally Microsoft Dynamics 365 integration. So we're doing a big £35 million transformation program. Whole business is going Microsoft 365 to run every system. And so our customer service will use it. So we're integrating Orlo into that. And that is going to be for us amazing, because when this is us testing, so I got this from one of our testing documents, but when a social media contact comes in, instantly, as long as we've done kind of the legwork with them in the past, so when they first contact us, the first time ever, ask them who they are, we can connect their customer records together. But from then on, whenever they contact us, automatically, all their details and live cases will appear in Orlo. You can actually see we're using something called Unified Service Desk for Microsoft Dynamics. So that's what our contact team will use to handle web chat and incoming calls all in one channel. But it will appear there on the side and instantly load up. So John Jones is someone from a company we're working with to integrate. Instantly load up kind of all the call scripts, all the information. And if I skip along one, well, instantly, this is our CRM system now, or will be. This is Microsoft Dynamics. We'll instantly log all the social interaction, all the message into a customer's record. It will present for them a list of knowledge base articles that AI talked about to show them kind of the most probable things they need to reply with, and they can just click and send through to the customer. But the big thing for our customer service team, it's not one system, typing in their address, can I check your postcode? I know you talked to us yesterday, but I need to ask your postcode again just to check, and type it into another system. It will truly integrate us and truly provide a single view of the customer. And I'm happy to talk about the more technical side of all that we're doing. But comms will also have access, not to Unified Service Desk, because that is a customer service kind of routing system, but to Microsoft Dynamics 365 we will be able to finally see customer information. Press inquiries can be logged against customers and things like that, because obviously that's another customer service channel, isn't it? The local press. At the moment for us, Bristol Live, why do we allow customers to feed pigeons in their gardens? That was the one this week. So, we'll be able to see that and log it against customers, and customer service will see that we've logged that, so that when they're on social, getting the same person complaining, like we had one recently, they're able to say, well, I understand you've spoken to your local press and this is what we said, and obviously that's the message, and I can have that truly kind of single view conversation. And I think it's important to say we're not perfect. You go on our social media channel, you'll find examples of us not doing great. But for us, it's about just trying. We have a mantra internally about innovation, about testing and failing and not being afraid of failure. For every 1,000 things you need to fail. So for us, a piece of technology will only get us so far. But ultimately, it's that working together, it's that culture, and it's about making sure you instill that human tone of voice and that human work that will really kind of make things happen for you properly on social media. Thank you.